Hey, I'm Jonathan Sewell at Mitchell Mazda on the Boulevard at Enterprise, and I'm standing with 3 turbos, and they're all-wheel drives. So we're going to take a quick look at these 3 models and break down which all-wheel drive turbo is right for you. So let's go. All right, let's start with the lovely 2021 CX-5. This is the Grand Touring Reserve. And of course, in 2019, this was added as additional luxury, a little bit more premium as you pick up the 2.5T turbo with all-wheel drive standard on this model. And this kind of set the trend for the turbo models in certain vehicle lines being standard with all-wheel drive. So we're going to jump into the all-wheel drive system because the CX-5 is the one that made it what it is, or first brought it to light as it debuted the iActive all-wheel drive system on this model. And so we see the difference between this Grand Touring Reserve and other standard sport touring, grand touring models, and now carbon edition, is that it's not just front wheel drive. With all wheel drive, you can also get power from the engine, from the drive line, to power these rear wheels. And all wheel drive actually keeps these somewhat on the ready all the time, by sending a little bit of power back there, so there's not that lag that you see in some all-wheel drive systems. This is what Mazda calls a predictive system, whereas some manufacturers use a reactive system. So this is proactive, predictive, instead of reactive. Now there's 27 different components or different measurements that are watched about 200 times every second. So you can see that these are constantly monitored, and you think you're just out for a drive, but your iActive all-wheel drive system is making sure that the exact amount of traction is seen on all 4 wheels. So why is this paired with the turbo? Well, as you know, of course, we've seen this in later years as some of those ratings have changed, but 227 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque underneath the hood here, or 250 and 320 with premium fuel, gives you a lot of torque. And a lot of torque means the potential of a lot of traction that's needed. And you don't want to be in any situation where these wheels will not have, or tires will not have enough traction for you, especially while cornering or going off-road, as every crossover SUV was created or designed to be capable of. So on this Grand Touring Reserve, really what we have inside here is a Grand Touring with the premium package. So of course you've got the leather with heated seats. Then you also upgrade with the premium package contents of ventilated seats. You also have the active driving display up top here, as well as the power folding mirrors, blind spot monitoring, Bose system with satellite, all of these things that we're familiar with. Standard on Grand Touring and Grand Touring Reserve, of course, is your power rear liftgate. And you can see the turbo badging and all-wheel drive badging. Of course, you have the handles here to fold these down. You have the rear heated seats as well. So all the good things. But the real question that I want to address is, why choose the CX-5 turbo if you're narrowing down a crossover or a Mazda turbo all-wheel drive. Now, you'll notice that I have excluded in my conversation today the Mazda 6 Grand Touring and higher because they're only front-wheel drives, and these models, with exception of 2021 in the Carbon Edition that you can get a turbo and front-wheel drive, traditionally, and these two are still, where you can only have the turbo with all-wheel drive. And most of our conversation in the last several years, 19, 20, and 21, are regards around the Grand Touring Reserve and the Signature, which are all-wheel drive with turbo. So when we talk about the CX-5, because the iActive all-wheel drive is the same across all of them, the 2.5 turbo has the same specs across all of them. So why would you purchase this CX-5? Well, let's talk about a couple of things. Of course, we talked about the amenities and the spacing. Also, what we've jumped into with more availability in 2021 and introduced in 2019 is this off-road traction assist. The off-road traction assist, formerly the TCS off button or disengage the traction control, means that when these are in an unlevel situation such as off-road, traditionally the traction control, which is standard on these models, will sense the least resistance on one wheel slipping and throttle down so that, and apply the brakes so that you can get a lot of traction sent over here. Well, in the case of being unbalanced, if this wheel was off the ground, you don't want to throttle down. You need the extra burst to get through, especially if you're just on two wheels. You need the burst to get through, and so it applies the brakes and sends the torque, but does not throttle down. So that's one difference there when you're going off-road with your off-road traction assist. Okay, when we talk about the Grand Touring Reserve specifically, this vehicle, as equipped, roof rails, the white color is $37,180, and we did have this vehicle in stock before the first of the year. So, as I mentioned before, there are some price increases coming across, but this one's $37,180 on the sticker here. So, if you want the same power, but need a little bit more room in this 5-passenger and some of the updated amenities, $37,000 is a lot of zoom and a lot of fun for this vehicle. Now let's walk over here to our next contestant here, the 2021 CX-30. Now this one has 3 touring trims. So this one is the mid level of those, the premium. So you have the Turbo Premium, and the Turbo Premium Plus. This one is the premium. So what this gives you is a lot of similar things. The Turbo was kind of branded with a lot of that. So as we stand back and look, you can't really tell from the front or the side of if this is a turbo or if it's even all-wheel drive. However, this one, when you look from the side, you know that something's different because of the gloss black wheels. So all turbo models have gloss black wheels. Also on this premium, you see that you have the signature LED lighting up front, as well as your turn signals there on the bottom. These are 18-inch wheels, and we didn't speak specifically, but the CX-5 is a 19-inch wheel. So these are 18-inch wheels. You can also see this crossover design has, and this side has the big cladding here, the big flares, and looks like we got some cool wind blowing in. Also on the premium, you upgrade to the active driving display. You have the moonroof and the Bose system, which gives you satellite radio, some other options. I just had this one tinted up front here, so that's why it's a little bit darker on the inside, and we'll check that out. But the turbos also get the black mirror caps. So a lot of similarities between the Carbon Edition, which is available in turbo, and these turbo models. So as we finish walking around here, you also see the roof rails are standard on the premium and above on the CX-30. Also, you see the same badging here, the new for 21, the SkyActiv G Turbo badging, and then of course the CX-30 all-wheel drive badging. This one as well has your power rear liftgate, which is on the Premium and Premium Plus. Somebody's already folded these seats down, but we'll take a look on the inside. You do have a unique styling on the CX-30. So this one being silver, you do have the black interior with the brown accents. We'll take a quick peek in there. And as this is another Mazda CX or crossover, you do have the same off-road traction assist. So the biggest difference between these two, other than the styling on the outside and the inside, same powertrain, is this. Your rear legroom. So you can also see as I'm standing, and I'll keep this stable, so you can see the height difference of the CX-5 compared to the CX-3. Although once you're in the vehicle, these seats do sit rather high, so you still have that off the ground feeling. And we'll talk about that more as we move on with the Mazda 3. So you do have a little bit of updated styling as far as the dash is reworked a little bit on this new styling. These were the first to have the 7th generation infotainment. Of course, you do have that on the 2021s also. And again, your specs are the same. However, the pricing is different. Now, of course, this would be sort of like the Grand Touring Reserve in the CX-30 line, because you have 3 turbo models, and this one was to be the next from the top. So this one is $33,875, and this is just a regular silver color, so no extra charge or anything like that. $33,875. So for about $3,000, a little more than $3,000 less, you can have the CX-30 Premium. Okay, now lastly, we'll talk about, and I'm sorry if it's getting a little dark here, I expect these lights to kick on any minute. The other side actually has. But to finish out our conversation here is the one we've all been waiting for, the hot hatch, or the hottest we're gonna see. Oh, there we go. Spoke them into existence. This is the Mazda 3 hatchback, turbo, all-wheel drive. So all same powertrains here. So if you want to just call it for what it is, what's the fastest one? This one. Why is that? Because it's lighter, it's lower to the ground, it's a lot of fun. These two are more crossovers. They're up with a little bit of ground clearance. You want to set it up where you know, you have a little more utility, but this one is all about fun. Yes, you have some cargo. Yes, you have some passenger room. A lot of the same features, except we don't call it off-road assist. But this one is kind of what put Mazda on the map with their Mazda Speed, hot hatch. And the biggest difference that we'll see between these Mazdas and turbos, actually there's 2 big differences. The first one, well, these and the ones in the past. The first one is that these are all automatics. So you cannot get a manual transmission on the turbos. Also, on the other difference between a Mazda Speed, a WRX, things like that, in this hot hatch segment, is that these are a minimum jerk vehicle instead of a maximum jerk. What that means is that Mazda's Genba E-Tie, horse and rider as one, has actually sculpted from their human-centric design and design theory and engineering, has designed these performance of these turbos and the all-wheel drive and the G-Vectoring Control Plus to be less jerky, is the technical term, than traditionally. So you kind of have a bell curve of performance. So you kind of slow to go, then a lot of power in the middle, and then kind of ease out, especially in a turn. You can track that as well. So these are going to be a different ride, but more Mazda-like. So before we were talking about some of the differences between the CX-5 and the CX-30, this one, as you can see, is lower than the CX-30. So let's just go stand beside them here. So let's just hold this steady, and you can see the height difference. Take a couple of steps back. Not much difference on these two, and really, comparatively, not much difference on all 3. But as we talk about, we'll start with the price here. This one is the turbo model, and it's 32, roughly, 31,845. And this turbo has, this Mazda 3 has 2. So this is a turbo model, and then a turbo Premium Plus. You do have the gloss black alloy wheels, which are standard on the premium hatchbacks, and this one has it as well. You also pick up the signature lighting, which is this is mostly like a preferred model with some upgrades. So you have the signature lighting. You also have the gloss black wing, which is seen on the hatch. Also the dark inserts on that signature lighting. So looks very good. Ties in really well. Gloss black mirror caps for the turbo. And the biggest difference, of course, we've been talking about leather on the other two models. This is a leatherette. So you do have heated seats. You do have a power seat. You do also have memory. And again, instead of that off-road traction assist, you just have the traction control off button right here. One thing that I didn't mention, the differences between these two, well, as far as compared to the CX-5, you also have heated mirrors and heated steering wheel available on these models. So that's a neat addition. This one does have the heated mirrors, and then you can upgrade in that Premium Plus to heated steering wheel. Again, the biggest difference between the CX-30 and the Mazda 3, aside from the roof line, is the back seat room. So it gets smaller as we go, but you also have some storage, which is fairly competitive. And then, of course, the styling is just unique. This was World Car Design of the Year, this hatchback, even with the wide C-pillars here, which I love, but it does change visibility a little bit. And so the biggest question you have, this is the first of two turbos. Then, of course, this is the second of three, and that's the first of two. Again, we're excluding the carbon edition in this conversation. So 227 horsepower or 250, 310 foot-pounds of torque or 320. Which turbo is for you? So we go roughly 32,000 to roughly 34,000 to 37,000. So about $2,000 difference, which is basically just the appearance differences from the Premium Plus and the Turbo comparatively. And then you have the Grand Touring Reserve. They're all equipped the same powertrain. They're all going to have the same technology and safety features. They all have the iActive all-wheel drive, which is predictive and makes the drive a lot more fun. And even in these models, with this all-wheel drive, the front wheels are going to do most of the pulling into a corner, and the rear wheels are going to get you out. That's just how that system works with traction, making sure it's all the best. So it's yours to decide. I just wanted to put all these together and compare them. Again, you can't go wrong if you want a turbo. You can't go wrong with an all-wheel drive, and those not much farther north than me are appreciating all-wheel drive right now because of the snow. I think even in North Alabama we're seeing some snow, and then of course in Tennessee we definitely are. So don't use a lot of all-wheel drives in South Alabama. However, the overall drive is going to be very impressive with that all-wheel drive, and not to exclude the front-wheel drive carbon edition turbo in the CX-5. But these are going to have all the traction you want, all the fun, and take advantage of that torque. It's just unbelievable to go from 186 in the standard 2.5 to 310 and 320 is unbelievable. So drop a comment below on which one of these three, CX-5, CX-30, or Mazda 3 hatchback, you'd be interested in with the turbo. And if you have any questions as well, you can call or text me at 334-718-0504. Is it the CX-5? Is it the CX-30? Or is it the Mazda 3 hatchback? Now, of course, there's a slight fuel differences, fuel economy on these because of the different coefficients of drag and weight and things like that. But that's nominal when you're in a turbo, right? We're probably going to put our foot in the accelerator a little bit too much anyway. So I wish you the best of driving. I wish you the best of your Mazda enjoyment. and you can't go wrong with any of these. I can't wait to see you in one of these beautiful Mazda turbo all-wheel drive vehicles.